So this is a brief presentation on contemplative prayer where you're going to learn a very, very simple technique, but a very powerful one. And the way that I distinguish contemplative prayer from other non-dual practices is that you are deliberately invoking, you could say, the powers that be, or the source consciousness, God, divinity, whatever your name is for that. You are evoking that specifically. You're not resting in to an unbound, all-pervading field of presence and emptiness, right? That's what non-dual meditation often is. Contemplative prayer, for me anyway, is different because we are evoking divinity, or we're allowing ourselves to access that dimension of being, let's say. Okay, so for me, the simplest and most straightforward way to think about contemplative prayer is like this, right? This is, to me, this is the essence of it. In the most secret, hidden, private, intimate level of your heart, um, where you can find the deepest sense of longing for something, right? Even if you don't have a word for what that is. In the same way that if you're born into an animal body and all of a sudden you're hungry for food, um, you have a sense that you're hungry and that you want something. Okay, and let's call that, on a spiritual sense, in the physical sense we have hunger, in the spiritual sense we have longing. And we can start by tuning in to where we experience that longing and what it feels like. Okay, so as you can tell, this exercise is already going kind of deep. So if you're not in the right space for this right now, that's cool. You can just come back to it later. If you are in the right space for this right now, the right kind of heart and head space and mood and so forth, and ability to do this exercise, then this can go quite deep pretty quickly and can be quite powerful. So I just want everybody to know that before diving into it. So we can start by finding what it is, feeling what it is that our heart longs for in the most profound and deepest way. So let's start with that. Even if we don't have a name for it, and even if what we thought about as God doesn't match what that was, okay? That's important too, because ultimately this felt sense of longing, it doesn't matter what name we give to what the object of longing is. For now, let's just know that we have it, okay? So let's just sit for a moment. A lot of times we feel that longing in our heart, or somewhere in the back of the heart or the bottom of the heart. I'm talking about the heart center, really, in the chest. Go ahead and find that for yourself. Okay. Going back to this analogy of an animal, right? If we had, think about your dog or your cat. Um, let's think about a dog for a second, because it's easier to do it with this analogy. Let's say that you have the dog on a leash, and the dog all of a sudden gets a scent, and the dog wants to go after the scent. And you say, no, 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 you got to stay here, right? Well, if you unleash the dog would just be able to follow the scent. And then the dog would be able to find whatever it is, hopefully a nice treat, and not like a smelly carcass or something on the side of the road. But in any case, hopefully the dog knows the scent. The dog knows how to follow the scent. That's the point, right? So in the same way, we keep ourselves held back from the object of whatever this deep longing is. Right? We could call this a longing for love, for home, for God, for divinity. But really, those are words that don't ultimately match the experience of what happens when you let your sense of longing off of its proverbial leash. Okay. So, step one, find the sense of longing. Often we feel it in the heart. Step two, take the leap of faith and let the sense of longing kind of unfurl. So, to me personally, this feels like an upward movement where there's something deep in my heart that feels like it goes something like that. Right? It might be different for you, right? Just allow the natural movement to happen, whatever that natural movement is, right? So we're thinking about this as a natural kind of instinctive thing, or intuitive, I guess we could say. There's an energy inside of you, and if you let that energy go to where it wants to go, to long for the object of its longing, what happens? For some of you, this might be pretty easy. For others, it might feel like your energy system is starting to loosen up a little bit. And you might feel like something is blocking you, or something is blocking like an energy from moving. See if you can relax your mental grip on what that is. Okay. This exercise also holds the premise that the love of divinity, or the love that comes from a deeper level of being, is always there in the background. And well, part of it might be living on planet Earth, where it's a lot of our default state, but part of it is active. Part of it is unconscious and active blocking of this kind of love. Okay. So, once again, finding the sense of longing, letting it unfurl, like you're letting the dog off the leash so that the dog can go and sniff out whatever it's after. Or the dog can go home. That's probably a better metaphor. See if you can feel, here's the next step. See if you can feel some kind of contact being made, even if you don't have words for what that contact is. And even if it feels subtle. Once you experience contact, you can just sit for a few moments, allowing yourself to know what it's like to live with the experience of contact. You might feel further natural, spontaneous releases from your system. And again, if you don't feel contact yet, see if you can just feel what it's like, feel what it would be like to let your guard down. So ultimately, you're just letting your guard down to something that part of you has an undeniable longing for. Right? This is the deepest longing that we can experience as human beings, so far as I know. And we can give words to the experience that's longed for. Divinity, higher self, in some traditions, holy guardian angel. What's important is the sense of longing and the relationship to what is longed for, and that we can actually feel contact and that the contact is real. Okay. So the way that we can know that we're getting this, actually, let's just wait. Here, let's just sit here for a minute longer. And just stay there too as you're listening to this. Things that you might begin to experience here: a sense of peace, a sense of being able to breathe better, like your energy system is just able to relax, your nervous system is able to relax a bit more. And even if you've had trouble letting your guard down in human relationships, this is a good way, a safe way to let your guard down to something that is fundamental to fundamental relative to our deepest sense of who we are and what we are. Um, and again, we give words to it like God or divinity. The experience is one of being met, of a mysterious contact. To me, anyway, it feels mysterious. A contact that is um, mysterious to the thinking part of the mind. And sometimes the sense of something that feels so intimate that you couldn't describe it to anybody. There's an old text written by an anonymous author called The Cloud of Unknowing. The best recording that I've heard of this is by a Buddhist nun named Samaneri Jayasara. You can find her on YouTube. But you could look up Cloud of Unknowing and just put Cloud of Unknowing Samaneri, Samaneri, I think. And part of it is it's impossible to describe this love, right? That's one aspect of it. So you don't need to have a near-death experience to encounter the white light of divinity. You don't need to necessarily go. You don't need to have an astral travel experience necessarily to go home, or to feel the at least to feel the radiance of home. You don't need that. You can do it that way, but it's not necessary. There's what feels like a fine channel, perhaps, or a subtle channel that when you open your heart, there's contact. And that's it. So we're using the longing, or we're just allowing ourselves to know the longing that we have, to experience it. And then let it find the thing that it's longing for. Right? Totally intuitive. We're totally engaging a natural, energetic, existential movement of being. Um, you might even say it's a subtle movement of the will. Like we're talking about the will, like a fundamental sense of desire. So in any case, I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have some fruitful experiences with this practice.